Okay, so we're going to be looking at a new function or a prototype today called toLowerCase. A very nice thing that we can use. Sometimes when you're using with code, you don't really determine what input you're actually working with. So say for example, a user passes in these arguments. So in a UI that the user is using, they get to choose their favorite movies, right? So they can do fight. They can do I don't know, Friday thing, so on and so forth. So they get to choose these, and then we want to do logic on these, so on and so forth. What's really annoying is this capital letter here in the front part, because this is a different value, fight, than this one. Because this is a different value to the computer, the uppercase and lowercase. The uppercase and the lowercase, the computer is going to be like, okay, these are two separate things, and it can be really frustrating to work with that. And what's really commonplace is to change these with a very powerful thing called toLowerCase. And I'm just going to go through a brief introduction with this. And I just want to show you quickly something that, so if I had a string, and let's say it's fight, right? All capital letters. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and lowercase this. And then I'm going to console log string out. We're not going to get exactly what we think we're going to get. Look at that. It's still capital, but we just ran this. The thing is, doing a lowercase on just a string like this, so this is a prototype of string. So any string has inherited the property of toLowerCase, but lowercase will actually not change the value of string. It will only change the value in the logic that you use it. So like for example, if we wanted to, oh, I don't need to reinitiate it, do I? If we wanted to save it, we could do this. And there is our what we wanted. So we can do that if we wanted them all lowercase. And if we just wanted to work with logic, then we could do that. So for example, if we had an if statement and we wanted to compare the user string. So let's for example say that we want to compare this string to the array or to a user input. And I'm just going to make one user input here. I'm not going to work with that array just yet, just for ease. So let's go ahead and say a user entered this, right? The user is able to enter a lowercase or uppercase, it doesn't matter. But what we want to do here is we wanted to compare whether this user input was equal to string. Obviously, if we did that as is, so if that's equal to the string, what's console log? They are equal. And then we'll come down here and then we'll just throw in an else. And we'll say, and then we'll throw in a console log and say, they are not equal. And if you know what's going to happen is the fact that it's going to go into it's not equal. See, because the computer sees this value of lowercase and this value of uppercase as the exact same, as different. Because they're different values. And so what we would want to do is what we could simply come here and do is toLowerCase. And that will actually lowercase this whole, oh, don't need that. This will actually lowercase the whole thing. And now it's going to go in there because it's going to lowercase this. So that's very powerful to do this. And if you wanted to, you could have done this. And just have changed the entire value in and of itself. so that you wouldn't have to do it here. Once again, this is totally your preference. If you're making code and you realize it's better, see how it worked? If it's better to do it this way or it's better to do it that way, it's completely up to what you're making, what you think is best for the program. But these are two ways to accomplish that. So this is very powerful. But let's look at this array that we have here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out and put it down here so we're not getting distracted by everything else. Say that the user entered this array. So this is a user's array. And we want to do logic with this. This is way too complicated to work with. The best way to do this is to convert them all to lowercase. And that's easily done. It's very easily done. So what we want to do here is just var equals I believe you know how to do this. At least I hope. If you don't, I have made a video on arrays and looping through them. So we're going to go the length of it, and then we're going to iterate plus plus, right? And then what we want to do is we want to change that. So what actually I'm going to do over here is I'm going to make quickly a new array. And once again, I could have changed the user array. I like to keep that intact just in case I need this somewhere else. And I like just to make a new one. But once again, it's completely your preference if you want to change the first array. So I'm going to do new array I equals, and then user array toLowerCase. Just like that. And if I console logged new array, let me go ahead and comment this out so we don't need to worry about that extra input in there. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Ah. Forgot my index right there. There we go. Now you've noticed that I have actually changed all of them, and now now that I have done this, and if I need to do any logic, I'm going to use this new array that I've made. So if I wanted to do the same thing as this as that if statement, I can just come down here and do new array, and then just simply I could just reuse this code and put this in here, and then compare the user input to, what did I want to do? I zoned out a little bit. Okay, there. So very simply I could do that. In fact, this is bad programming because this is in the same scope, so we should change this to J because it's in the same scope as these. So we could have done that. And yeah, so this is how you would use these array. And just quite simply, I'm going to throw this in here, but they also have a toUpperCase that you can do, which will obviously change all the things to uppercase. But yeah, so what happens if you don't want to do that? What happens if you want to uppercase only the first letter? So like, for example, after you change this and now the array looks like this, then that kind of looks shoddy to return this back to the user. So what we want to do here is uppercase only the first letter. So there's something that's very powerful with strings called char at, and then you pass in the index of what the char is, because even with strings it's kind of indexed, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So what you would simply do for that is say, I'm just going to do a simple example right here. So say var word is going to be equal, and let's say we want to capitalize fight because we wanted to return that word back. So we're going to do the name of what we're looking at, so that's going to be new array, and we want to do fight, so that's located at 0, and we're going to do char at, and we want to capitalize the first letter, and we're going to do uppercase. What I'm doing right now is an example of what's called chaining. I'm chaining a bunch of these commands in here. And then I'm going to also splice out that, that part that I do not want anymore. Nope, that had to be 0. Whoops. Oops, slice. Wrong function. And now what this is going to do is going to capitalize that word for us. So if we console log this out, did everything right, you see that F is there. Why did it not take that out? I must have done something wrong. Hold on one second. Okay, slice, yes, yes, yes. Ah, I forgot to pass in the 1 because we want to slice out one time. So basically I said don't slice out any time, and hence why that was in there. Now it sliced it out. Apologize about that. So this is a handy dandy function or prototypes that you can use on a string to make sure that the stuff that you're returning back to the user looks good.